The cost of living and the economy are sure to come up tonight in the first and earliest ever presidential debate. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump will face off tonight at 9, hosted at the CNN studios in Atlanta. There won't be a live audience, but there will be a mute button at the podiums in case either candidate goes past their allotted time. Joining me now is ABC News political director Rick Klein, who's got a really busy night ahead, so we appreciate him making time for us. Rick, what are you watching for tonight?
Well, this is a big one. Look, a lot of the country, Andrew, has not been into this race and been thinking that it's never going to happen and maybe this matchup isn't real. Well, now it's real. And I think it kicks off a very large, very active time this summer with both campaigns out there in a big way. And I think we have to watch to see how it plays. And remember, there's different audiences. You've got people that are hardcore for one candidate or the other, but they aren't really the audience. It's people that may not like either one of them, that may be thinking about not voting at all. All of that is a factor tonight.
Speak to the historic nature of this debate. Both men have been president of the United States.
Yeah, never happened before. I mean, we've never had a president and former president out there together. We've never had a convicted felon on a debate stage. We've never had a presidential debate this early. We're 3-4 months before people are going to be voting. So this is really wild to think about on so many different levels. It's also a rematch, and these men faced each other twice in 2020. And if you watch those debates, the first one was kind of a hot mess, was all over the place and kind of a mess with interruptions. The second one was a lot more substantive and sedate, a much different setting at a much different time. So I legit don't know what to expect given everything that's unprecedented here.
You know better than anyone that the polls for this race have been tied, give or take a point here or there. What does each candidate have to do to kind of set himself above the other?
Well, you have to realize, look, the polls aren't going to suddenly shift overnight in a race that's been this stable, but the margins do matter. And we saw them move a little bit after the conviction of Donald Trump a few weeks ago. And I think they can move more than a little bit if people kind of focus on something that makes the contrast as clear as it is. I'll tell you, both campaigns are confident that the public really isn't engaged in this race. The primaries were just not as big of an event as they typically are. And here we are, and summer's begun, people are on vacation, kids are out of school. But I think that begins to change.
Well, and why would the campaigns agree to something this early if people aren't paying attention? Is there hope that people now pay attention?
I think that's a piece of it. I think is also an expectation that if something goes really wrong for either candidate, you have lots of time to make up ground and to fix whatever happened because people aren't voting for many, many months. Look, I think it's a reality that the campaign has long since begun, so I applaud the fact that we're addressing that reality, but it's hard for me to imagine that anything that happens tonight has a permanent impact on the race.
Age and mental acuity of really both candidates has been a discussion. One side thinks the other guy isn't, all there enough to be president. How can either candidate prove or disprove those theories tonight?
You can't do it by just answering a question and saying, I'm fine. It's what you feel. And I think a lot of the judgments around both Trump and Biden are based on people just seeing them a lot and seeing them in the action. And that does make a difference. Those perceptions matter. And my view on a lot of these debates is that those atmospherics, the feelings of voters actually do make a difference.
Everyone talks about undecided voters. Are there really any voters undecided?
I mean, not a lot. This is going to come down to 10,000, 20,000 and spread a couple of different states, maybe 7 at most. And a lot of them, like I said, they're not thinking I will Trump. I'm undecided between Biden and Trump. They're thinking that they're undecided between not voting at all and voting for one or the other. They're thinking they're undecided between voting for Robert F. Kennedy or another third-party candidate or voting for Trump and Biden. So there's different ways to define it. Their decisions will be important, though.
All right, Rick Klein, the ABC News political director, who always makes time for Syracuse. We appreciate it always and appreciate it tonight. We'll look for your coverage ahead on ABC.